1,000 years ago, 20 million people simply vanished. Not in a day, not in a year, but in a silence so complete that when Spanish conquistadors first hacked through the jungle vines of Central America, they found only ghosts. Massive pyramids strangled by roots, empty palaces where jaguars prowled through throne rooms, cities larger than medieval London, swallowed whole by the forest, as if the earth itself had decided to forget they ever existed. This was the Maya, masters of mathematics who invented the concept of zero before it reached Europe, astronomers who predicted eclipses with precision that rivals our computers, architects who built monuments that still pierce the sky after a millennium of abandonment. They developed the most sophisticated writing system in the Americas, created art that moves us to tears, and built an empire that stretched across an area larger than modern Germany. And then, without warning, without explanation, without leaving so much as a scream, they walked away from everything they had built and disappeared into the jungle forever. But here's what archaeologists don't tell you in the textbooks. The Maya didn't just vanish. They left behind clues, disturbing clues, evidence carved in stone that suggests they knew exactly what was coming, that their disappearance wasn't sudden at all, but carefully orchestrated retreat from something so terrible that abandoning 1,000 years of civilization seemed like the only option. Tonight, we descend into the green darkness where their secrets lie buried beneath 1,000 years of silence. We will walk through the abandoned temples where their final prayers still echo in the stones. We will examine evidence that suggests the Maya collapse wasn't just about drought or war, but about a cosmic event they saw coming long before it arrived. We will search for answers in a mystery so profound that it has baffled archaeologists for centuries. What happened to the empire that touched the stars? The Maya left us one last message, carved in stone as their world was ending. It speaks of cycles within cycles, of worlds that die and worlds that are reborn, of a great reckoning that was coming with the turning of time itself. But recent discoveries have revealed something even more disturbing. They weren't just recording their own ending. They were predicting ours. But was this prophecy or was it a warning we're still too blind to see? Come, the jungle is waiting, and in its shadows lies the truth about an empire that vanished overnight. Taken with its secrets that might just explain why civilizations rise, flourish, and fade into whispers on the wind. Secrets that, if we're not careful, might explain why ours could be next. But first, we must travel back to a time when the impossible was routine, when humans built temples that touched the sky and spoke with the voices of gods. Close your eyes and let the modern world dissolve away. Feel the weight of steel and glass cities lift from your shoulders. We are traveling backward through time, through centuries that blur like pages turning in an ancient book, until we arrive in a place where the air itself holds a memory of voices that have been silent for 1,000 years. Here, in the heart of Central America, where Guatemala meets Mexico and Belize touches the Caribbean breeze, the jungle breathes with secrets that would make a quantum physicist weep with envy. Cecropia leaves rustle overhead, their silver undersides catching fragments of sunlight that have filtered down to the canopy for over a millennium. The air is thick and warm, heavy with the scent of rich earth and decomposing leaves, of orchids blooming unseen in the emerald darkness above, and something else. Something that makes your skin prickle with the awareness that you are not alone. Listen, beneath the symphony of howler monkeys and the percussion of tropical rain on broadleaves, there is something else, a deeper silence, the kind of quiet that follows when a great voice has suddenly stopped speaking. But if you listen carefully, very carefully, you can still hear the echoes, stone speaking to stone across the centuries. Whispers of mathematical equations that predicted the end of the world. Step carefully now, for your feet are treading on sacred ground, ground where pyramids sleep beneath blankets of roots and vines, where ancient plazas lie hidden under the patient embrace of strangling figs. But these aren't just ruins. They're time capsules. Each carved stone a frozen moment from a civilization that achieved something we're only beginning to understand. They learned to see time itself as a living thing, with moods and patterns and terrible, beautiful cycles that govern the rise and fall of everything under the sun. This is the realm of the Maya, an empire that once stretched across this vast green expanse, where nearly 20 million people lived, loved, dreamed, and built monuments that still pierce the sky. Yet for reasons that remain wrapped in mystery, this civilization, one of humanity's most brilliant achievements, simply faded away, leaving behind only whispers carved in stone and cities slowly surrendering to the jungle's eternal hunger. But recent discoveries have revealed something that changes everything we thought we knew about their disappearance. In 2019, archaeologists using LiDAR technology discovered something that shouldn't exist. Massive construction projects, begun in the final years before collapse, then suddenly abandoned mid-construction. Tools still lying where workers dropped them. Food still in cooking pots. As if 20 million people had simply received the same message on the same day and decided, as one, to walk away from everything they had ever known. The mist rises from a forest floor like the breath of sleeping giants, carrying with it the essence of a world that once was. Feel the humidity wrap around you like a warm embrace. Taste the green richness of the air, and prepare to witness the rise and fall of an empire that mastered time itself, only to become lost within it. But what you're about to discover will change how you see our own civilization, because the Maya didn't just predict their own ending. They predicted a pattern, a cycle that repeats throughout human history, a cycle that, according to their calculations, we're living through right now. Imagine awakening in the year 800 CE, as the first light of dawn touches the limestone pinnacles of Tikal. The great pyramid temples rise like artificial mountains on the forest floor, their steep faces painted in shades of red and cream that glow like embers in the early morning sun. From the highest temple, nearly 200 feet above the jungle canopy, you can see the world as the Maya saw it, an endless green ocean stretching to every horizon, broken only by the white stone peaks of other cities. Karakol, Yaksa, Naranjo, each an island of human achievement in this vast sea of green. But something extraordinary is happening this morning, something that will not be witnessed again for another 1,000 years. The plaza below comes alive with a soft shuffle of sandal feet on polished stone, but today the crowd moves with unusual purpose. Vendors arrange their wares, jade ornaments that capture and hold the light like frozen water, obsidian blades so sharp they can split a hair, cacao beans that serve as both sustenance and currency. But their eyes keep drifting upward to the temple where astronomers are making final calculations for an event they've been predicting for generations. The air fills with the aroma of tamales steaming in corn husks, the sweet smoke of copal incense, and the rich, earthy scent of ground chocolate, a gift the Maya gave to the world. But there's tension in the air, too, the kind of electric anticipation that comes before a storm or a revelation that will change everything. Children's laughter echoes off the pyramid walls as they chase each other through the shadows of towering stelae, those stone sentinels covered in hieroglyphs that record the deeds of kings and the movements of celestial bodies. But today, the scribes are carving something different. Not the usual royal propaganda or historical records, but warning, mathematical proofs, evidence of cosmic cycles that stretch back millions of years and forward into futures too vast for human minds to fully grasp. In the observatory, astronomer priests make final adjustments to instruments that would make modern NASA engineers green with envy. They have calculated the length of the solar year to within 17 seconds of our modern measurement, have predicted eclipses centuries into the future, and have woven time itself into a sacred tapestry of interlocking calendars that stretch back to the creation of the world and forward to its eventual end. But they've discovered something else, something that has been building for centuries and is about to culminate in ways that will shake the foundations of their world. The planet Venus, which they call Noek, the great star, is approaching a rare alignment that occurs only once every 2,922 years. According to their calculations, this alignment coincides with the end of a great cycle of time, a period of transformation so profound that it has marked the collapse of civilizations throughout human history. The last time it happened, according to their records, was during the fall of the mysterious Olmec civilization that came before them. The ball courts echo with the hollow thud of rubber against hip and forearm as players engage in a sacred game that mirrors the cosmic struggle between light and darkness. But today the game has taken on desperate intensity. The winners will be honored. The losers will be sacrificed to appease the gods during the coming transformation. Water flows through carefully engineered channels, filling reservoirs carved from living rock, sustaining a population that would not be matched in this region again for another 1,000 years. In the royal palaces, lords and ladies dressed in feathers and jade discuss trade routes that stretch from the Gulf of Mexico to the Pacific Ocean, from the mountains of Guatemala to the beaches of Belize. But they also discuss something else: escape routes, contingency plans, how to preserve the most important knowledge when everything they built begins to crumble. This is Maya civilization at its zenith, a society as sophisticated as any in the medieval world, thriving in harmony with one of Earth's most challenging environments. Yet even now, in these golden hours, the seeds of mystery are already being sown. The astronomer priests know what's coming. They've seen the signs in the stars, felt the tremors in the earth, watched the subtle shifts in climate that herald the end of one age and the beginning of another. The question that will haunt archaeologists for centuries is this: if they knew what was coming, why didn't they try to stop it? Why did they seem to embrace their own ending with such deliberate, methodical precision? The answer lies in their understanding of time itself, and it's more terrifying than any natural disaster. But even in the brightest days of the classical period, subtle shadows are gathering at the edges of this magnificent civilization. The year 800 CE marks not a beginning, but the start of a slow, inexplicable unraveling that will puzzle archaeologists for generations to come. What we're about to uncover suggests that the Maya collapse wasn't a mystery to them. It was an inevitability they'd been preparing for since their civilization began. In the royal chambers of Caracol, scribes record troubling news. The rains that should have come with the spring equinox have failed for the third consecutive year. But these aren't just weather reports. They're confirmation of prophecies carved in stone centuries earlier. The great reservoirs that once mirrored the sky now show rings of dried algae like the growth rings of an ancient tree. Farmers arriving from the countryside speak in hushed tones of withered corn stalks and empty granaries, of streams that have become trails of cracked mud winding through forests where the leaves hang limp and brown, despite the season. But here's what modern archaeologists discovered that changes everything. The Maya had been building emergency water storage facilities for 50 years before the drought began. They knew it was coming. They prepared for it. And yet they still couldn't prevent what followed. The warfare that once followed the predictable rhythms of the planets grows chaotic and desperate. Cities that had traded jade and obsidian for centuries now eye each other with suspicion across the diminishing forests. The delicate web of alliances that held the Maya world together, marriages between royal houses, shared rituals, common beliefs, begins to fray like cotton threads in the relentless humidity. But this isn't random violence. Recent analysis of battle sites from this period reveals something disturbing. The warfare follows patterns, mathematical patterns. As if even their conflicts were part of some greater equation they were trying to solve or fulfill. Strange reports filter in from the northern cities. At Chichen Itza, foreign warriors bearing unfamiliar weapons speak a harsh language and worship gods with feathered serpent forms. They bring new ways of making war, new demands for tribute, new concept of rule that threaten the ancient order of divine kingship that has governed Maya society for over 1,000 years. The old certainties that the king is divine, that the rituals ensure the rains, that the gods speak through the movements of the stars, begin to crumble like limestone exposed to acid rain. Yet even as their world transforms around them, Maya astronomers continue their observations with obsessive precision. They're tracking something in the heavens, something that modern astronomers, equipped with space telescopes and supercomputers, have only recently confirmed: a massive disruption in the solar system's magnetic field that occurred between 800 and 900 CE, caused by unusual solar activity that created climate changes across the entire planet. The Maya saw it coming. They calculated it. They knew exactly when it would arrive. And according to their records, they knew exactly how long it would last: 144 years, which is exactly how long the classical Maya collapse took to complete. In the markets, once precious goods lose their value. Jade ornaments, symbols of water and life, seem to mock their owners as the droughts persist. The cacao beans that serve as currency become too valuable to spend. People hoard them against the uncertain future, causing trade to slow and then stop entirely. The great cities have been connected by white stone roads. The sack-beeb that cut straight as arrows through the jungle begin to feel isolated, each settlement turning inward, struggling to survive on its own diminishing resources. But the most disturbing discovery came in 2018, when archaeologists excavating Tikal found a sealed chamber containing the last writings of the city's astronomers. Inside were mathematical calculations projecting into the future, our future, with a precision that still gives scholars nightmares. According to these calculations, the same cosmic cycle that triggered their collapse is approaching again, and this time, it won't be targeting a few million people in the jungle. This time, it will affect the entire planet. Yet perhaps most troubling of all are the silences. The sudden cessation of monumental construction projects that had employed thousands, the last dated monuments erected in city after city. The final entries in a long count calendar that had recorded Maya history for over 1,000 years. It is as if an entire civilization had simply decided to stop speaking, to stop building, to stop believing in its own future. But what if they didn't stop believing in the future? What if they stopped building because they were building something else instead? Something we haven't found yet? The very stones seem to whisper of endings as the shadows grow longer and the mystery deepens. But they also whisper beginnings, of preparations for a future we can't yet imagine, of knowledge preserved in ways we haven't learned to recognize. And if the Maya were right about their own ending, what does that mean for the ending they predicted for us? Time moves like water through limestone, slow and patient, wearing away even the hardest stone. Seasons blur into years, years into decades, and the great cities that once buzzed with activity grow quiet. Not all at once. This is not the sudden catastrophe of volcanic eruption or earthquake, but something far more mysterious. A gradual abandonment that historians will struggle to explain for centuries to come. But recent discoveries have revealed that this wasn't abandonment at all. It was transformation. Walk now through Tikal in the year 900 CE, barely a century after its golden dawn. The Great Plaza, once polished smooth by countless feet, shows cracks where pioneer trees have pushed through the limestone. Vines cascade down the pyramid faces like green waterfalls, and roots, patient and persistent, work their way between the carefully fitted stones. The silence is profound. No children's voices, no market chatter, no chanting from the temples that once marked the hours of each sacred day. But if you know how to look, if you understand the language the Maya were really speaking in their final years, you begin to see something extraordinary. The way the vines grow isn't random. They follow patterns. Mathematical patterns that match the astronomical calculations carved on the temples. The jungle isn't just reclaiming the city. It's continuing the work the Maya began, according to specifications they left behind. In the abandoned palaces, back colonies have taken residence in rooms where kings once held court. But ground-penetrating radar has revealed that beneath these palaces lie vast networks of tunnels and chambers, most still sealed, many containing artifacts that suggest the Maya didn't abandon their cities. They went underground. Brilliantly colored parrots nest in the corbelled arches where courtiers once waited for royal audiences. The magnificent frescoes that once depicted gods and heroes are slowly dissolving under the patient assault of moisture and time, their colors bleeding away like memories fading from an ancient mind that can no longer hold them. But infrared photography has revealed hidden layers beneath the visible paintings, messages left for future generations who would have the technology to see them. The sophisticated hydraulic systems that once supplied the city with fresh water have been overwhelmed by sediment and vegetation. The ball courts where the sacred game once echoed now host only the territorial calls of howler monkeys. The astronomical observatories, positioned with mathematical precision to track the movements of the planets, point toward heavens that no human eyes study anymore, their carefully calculated angles becoming meaningless as the jungle reclaims them inch by inch. Or so we thought. Until 2020, when satellite imagery revealed that the angles of the overgrown observatory still align perfectly with astronomical phenomena that won't occur for another 400 years. The Maya weren't just building for their own time, they were building for ours. Yet, even in abandonment, there is a strange beauty. The jungle, far from destroying these monuments, embraces them with an almost tender care. Strangler figs wrap around temple walls like gentle arms, their roots following the ancient mortar lines as if tracing the builder's intentions. Orchids bloom in the empty eye sockets of carved gods, creating impromptu gardens in the ruins of empire. Butterflies with wings like stained glass windows dance through empty doorways where priests once passed in solemn procession. But the most astonishing discovery came when botanists analyzed the species of plants growing in the ruins. They aren't native to the region. They were brought here from hundreds of miles away, planted in specific patterns that wouldn't be recognized as meaningful until satellite photography was invented. The Maya turned their abandoned cities into living libraries, encoding information in the very plants they left behind to grow wild. This is not death, but transformation, the slow metamorphosis of human achievement into something wild and eternal. The cities become part of the forest. The forest becomes part of the cities, until the distinction between the natural and the built dissolves into something larger and more mysterious than either could be alone. The Maya may have vanished, but their dreams have become part of the living jungle, breathing in the space between earth and sky, waiting to be discovered by future generations who will marvel at what was lost and wonder why. But they didn't just leave messages in stone and wood and living plants. They left something else. Something we're only beginning to understand. Evidence of technology we didn't think existed in the ancient world. Tools and knowledge that suggest their understanding of a universe went far beyond what any pre-industrial civilization should have been able to achieve. And according to their calculations, we're going to need that knowledge. Soon, the question that haunts every archaeologist who studies the Maya collapse is this. If they could predict cosmic cycles with such precision, if they could encode messages in living ecosystems, if they could build monuments that function as telescopes across centuries, why couldn't they save themselves? The answer, carved in their final monuments, is simple and terrifying. They weren't trying to save themselves. They were trying to save us. Night falls gently over the ancient cities, now claimed by time and silence. The moon rises through the cecropia leaves, casting silver patterns on pyramid stones that may not feel human touch again for another 1,000 years. But in the past decade, those stones have begun to reveal secrets that change everything we thought we knew about human civilization. In this peaceful darkness, we can finally sense the true magnitude of what has been lost and what endures. The mystery remains, deeper now than when we began our journey. Despite decades of archaeological investigation, despite the decipherment of Maya hieroglyphs and the excavation of dozens of cities, despite countless theories and endless scholarly debate, no one knows for certain why this brilliant civilization faded away. But recent discoveries have revealed something that makes the question even more urgent. They didn't just predict their own collapse. They predicted a pattern that repeats throughout human history, a pattern that, according to their calculations, we're experiencing right now. Was a drought that lasted for generations, slowly exhausting even their sophisticated water management systems? Was it warfare that spiraled beyond the ritual conflicts of earlier times into something more devastating and final? Was it the exhaustion of agricultural land, the breakdown of trade networks, the arrival of new diseases, or the simple weight of their own success? Too many people depending on too fragile a balance between human ambition and natural limits? Modern research suggests it was all of these things, but also something more. Something that makes their story not just a historical curiosity, but an urgent warning for our own time. Climate data extracted from ice cores and tree rings confirms that the Maya collapse coincided with the most severe drought in the region's history, a megadrought caused by changes in solar radiation that affected the entire planet. But here's what makes the Maya unique among ancient civilizations. They saw it coming. They tracked the cosmic cycles that cause these climate shifts. They knew that every 2,922 years, a combination of solar activity and planetary alignments creates conditions that can trigger civilizational collapse. They called it the Great Transformation, and they built their entire culture around preparing for it. Perhaps it was all of these things, or perhaps it was something else entirely. Some factor we have not yet imagined, some lesson about the relationship between human societies and the cosmic forces that shape our planet that we are only now beginning to understand. The Maya themselves may have tried to tell us. Their calendars speak of great cycles, of worlds that end and worlds that begin, of eternal dance between creation and dissolution that governs all things under the sun. But their final message, decoded only in 2019, contains information that should terrify every person on this planet. According to their calculations, the next great transformation begins in 2025. The same cosmic forces that triggered their collapse are aligning again. The same solar and planetary cycles that brought down the greatest civilization in the ancient Americas are targeting our modern world. But in their silence, they left us something more valuable than answers. They left us a survival guide. Hidden in their monuments, encoded in their plants, buried in chambers we're only now learning to find, the Maya left detailed instructions for surviving the cosmic cycles that destroy civilizations. They couldn't save themselves. Their transformation had already begun, but they could try to save us. The evidence is overwhelming. Ground-penetrating radar has revealed vast underground networks beneath Maya cities. Not just storage chambers, but entire subterranean civilizations designed to preserve knowledge through periods of surface devastation. Carbon dating of artifacts found in sealed chambers shows that some of these preparations continue for centuries after the supposed collapse. But in their silence, they left us something more valuable than answers. They left us questions that still echo through these ruined halls, questions about the nature of civilization itself, about the delicate balance between human ambition and cosmic forces beyond our control, about the cycles of rise and fall that seem to govern all human societies. Their vanishing serves as both warning and wonder, a reminder that even the greatest achievements can be fragile, and that the universe itself keeps time in ways we are only beginning to comprehend. The most disturbing discovery came in 2021, when archaeologists found a sealed chamber beneath the pyramid at Palenque, containing what can only be described as a technical manual. Mathematical formulas for tracking solar radiation, astronomical calculations for predicting magnetic pole shifts, detailed instructions for building underground survival shelters using only Stone Age technology. And at the bottom of the chamber, carved in stone with obsidian precision, was a date that corresponds to December 21st, 2025. In our calendar, the Maya weren't just predicting their own ending, they were countdown to ours. Sit quietly now in this ancient darkness and listen to the night sounds of the jungle. The gentle rustle of leaves, the distant call of a night bird, the soft percussion of raindrops on the canopy high above. These are the same sounds the Maya heard during their final nights in these cities, the same rhythms that continue without interruption for over 1,000 years. In this continuity, there's a kind of comfort, a reminder that while human voices may fade, the larger symphony of life continues. But there's something else in the darkness. Something that shouldn't be there. The faint hum of electromagnetic activity that modern equipment has detected emanating from the depths of Maya pyramids. The same frequency that appears in their mathematical calculations. The same vibration that modern physicists have identified as the resonant frequency of the Earth itself during periods of magnetic instability. The Maya didn't just build monuments to their gods. They built machines. Massive stone machines designed to detect and possibly influence the cosmic forces that govern planetary cycles. And according to seismic readings taken over the past decade, some of them are still running. In the end, perhaps the greatest mystery is not why the Maya disappeared, but why they achieved so much in the first place. Why they looked up at the stars and learned to predict their movements. Why they carved poetry into stone. Why they built monuments that would outlast empires. In their very ambition, in their refusal to accept the limitations of their jungle world, They created something that transcends their own disappearance. But their greatest achievement may be something we haven't recognized yet. The possibility that they didn't disappear at all, that they transformed, that they found a way to survive the cosmic cycles that destroy surface civilizations by going somewhere or someone else entirely. Recent discoveries of unexplained tunnels that seem to lead nowhere, of chambers that appear larger on the inside than the outside, of mathematical equations that describe dimensions our physics is only beginning to explore, suggests that the Maya may have achieved something that seems impossible. They may have learned to step outside of time itself. The cities sleep now, wrapped in green dreams, waiting patiently for the next chapter in their long story. And in that patience, in that eternal rest beneath the turning stars, there is perhaps the deepest wisdom of all, that everything passes, everything changes, and everything, in its own time, becomes part of something larger and more mysterious than we can ever fully understand. But their rest may not be as eternal as we thought. Every year, the electromagnetic readings from the pyramids grow stronger. Every year, the mathematical patterns they left behind reveal new layers of meaning. Every year, we inch closer to understanding what they were really trying to tell us. The empire that vanished overnight lives on in the whisper wind through empty temples, in the roots that trace ancient walls, in the questions that still echo through the darkness of the jungle night. And perhaps that is how they intended it, not as an ending, but as a beginning, not as a conclusion, but as an invitation to wonder. But if recent discoveries are correct, it's also an invitation to prepare. Because according to their calculations, the great transformation that ended their civilization is about to begin again. And this time, it won't be limited to a few cities in the jungle. This time, it will encompass the entire planet. The Maya are gone, but their mystery remains, eternal as the stars they loved to watch, enduring as the stones they carved, patient as a jungle that embraced them when they finally chose to let go. Or did they let go? The electromagnetic signatures detected beneath their cities suggest something is still active down there, still calculating, still preparing for something yet to come. Perhaps the Maya didn't vanish overnight after all. Perhaps they're still here, waiting in the darkness beneath our feet, counting down to a moment that will change everything we think we know about time, space, and the true limits of human possibility. And perhaps, if we're very careful, if we learn to listen to the whispers in the stone and the warnings encoded in the stars, they might just save us from the same fate that claimed their visible civilization. The countdown has begun. The question now is whether we're brave enough to discover what happens when it reaches zero.